Hey guys, Tech here with Gold Party LLC. Today we're going to be talking about scrap gold jewelry buying with one of our customers from Adelaide, Australia, Mr. Lee Chapman. Lee has been involved with the jewelry industry for over 20 years, specializing in jewelry manufacturing, stones, as well as diamonds. Lee, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, now before we get started, could you talk to us a little bit about your background and explain to us what drew your interest to jewelry some 20 years ago?
Um, Basically, I grew up on the land, about an hour and a half out of Adelaide, and basically we moved closer. Our family moved closer to Adelaide, and my dad just found an advert in the paper for a jewelry manufacturing company, and literally fell into the trade that way.
Mm-hmm.
And basically worked my way through the whole trade from a jewellery finisher right up to manufacturing jeweller, and then I had my own business for about close to 4.5 years, working in a Westfield in Adelaide, Westfield Shopping Centre in Adelaide.
Oh, wow.
And in between that, I've done everything from refining. I've done stone setting, diamond grading, and manufacturing of jewellery. So I've done the whole lot.
Wow, this is really interesting, and this is a great opportunity for me as well as our listeners because it'd be great to have some of your input further into this interview on diamonds because I know that you've got a lot of experience in this area. So starting out with, could you give us an idea of what the economy and the local market is like there in Australia where you are, Lee?
Well, our dollar is, like all currencies, are based off the US dollar. So at the moment, the Australian economy used to ride very heavily on the agricultural industry, but because of the drought that we've had, our economy's really gone backwards a bit. Not as probably as bad as the US economy, but we probably get 88 cents for a US dollar at the moment. But we're heavily influenced by the mining industry, and that's the thing that's really keeping this country afloat is the world's need for raw materials, which we have a lot of. But recently, the federal government tried to put a 40% tax on the mining industry, and that just sent shockwaves through everything. And a lot of companies were thinking of pulling out of Australia altogether. Since then, our Prime Minister Kevin Rudd was basically taken over by his deputy Julia Gillard. She's now running the country, and they're having renegotiations with the mining industry to try and stop this tax because everything would have been more expensive here in Australia, and it was a real worry. But I mean, we're the same as a lot of other countries. People are just at the end of the month just don't have enough money to make the bills stretch, or just to have money for kids' school fees or anything like that. So we're no different from anyone else, but I think we're probably a better position than a lot of other countries are with the global financial crisis that's happened.
Okay. Now, how are individuals being hit at home in terms of, I know that you mentioned a lot of folks just for everyday expenses, it's a little bit tough, but are you seeing people selling their jewelry to the same extent as we've been seeing here in the U.S.? Because it's a pretty popular thing over here.
It's funny, the reason I got into this was because I could see what's happening in the US, and it's starting to happen here. Recently, there's been a lot of little shops setting up in the middle of Westfield shopping centres and shopping malls where people just go and sell their gold literally in the street in the middle of the shopping mall. And a lot of people feel uncomfortable about that, but they're still doing it because people just need the money. So it's something new that's just happening here. So we're probably a couple of years behind you guys as far as trends go. But it's definitely more people just think, oh, well, I did see that place. Oh, look, I could sell my gold just to make a few extra dollars here and there just to make the bill stretch a bit further. So it is happening, and that's one of the reasons I decided to get into it, because over here it's literally a ground floor opportunity.
Could you tell us a little bit about that, about what your plans are in terms of establishing a store? Because I know we've talked about that, and it just seems really interesting, and not too many of our folks have that same type of plan that you have.
Well, basically, I've seen that there's very few jewellery buyers in Adelaide itself. There's probably only about 6 major buyers in Adelaide, all of which give really low prices because their overheads are so large, and because there's only 6 of them, they haven't got a lot of competition. They can literally pay such a poor price, and people just put up with it. My opportunity I've managed to get a place in the centre of the city for unbelievable rent of 20 square yards or 20 square metres for a really great fee of $88 a month. So it's just a crazy price that I've managed to score this place. So I'm just going to take them on because I can give a bit better in price because my overheads are a lot lower. But the only problem is I'm up on the fourth floor on the ground level. So I've just got to spend a bit more money on marketing and get people up to see me. But yeah.
Get people up the stairs, yeah. Yeah. Now, Lee, you mentioned that some of these other players, they're not paying very much because of their overhead. Could you give us an idea if you were to talk about percentage of spot? Are they paying 20% of the total amount? Or?
I'd say they'd be close to probably 30% of spot.
Wow.
That I've been able to do research. You know, maybe if they're lucky, they might stretch it out to 35. It depends on the place. Here in Adelaide, there's one particular buyer where instead of you going in and actually saying, well, how much does my piece of jewellery weigh, and they weigh it for you and tell you, okay, today we're buying it $30 a gram and here's your money, they basically ask the customer, well, you're selling it to us, how much do you want for it? And of course the customer's got no idea. And a lot of them just pick up their jewellery in disgust and walk out the shop. It's a really bizarre concept. I can't believe they actually treat customers that way, but they do. But they seem to get away with it because the customers haven't got anywhere else to go.
Wow, that's really unfortunate. I mean, anyone hearing this can know that you're no longer practicing a trade at that point, the trade of buying gold jewelry. You're just lowballing everybody and playing the negotiation game, which is a completely different business altogether. You know.
Yeah, it's not particularly fair, but yeah, I'm just planning to do a lot better than they do, and all I have to do is beat them on service, and I'll be streets ahead.
Yeah, Lee, could you tell us a little bit about your background with stones and diamonds?
Yeah, sure. I worked for a very large company, probably one of the biggest jewellery manufacturers or mass-produced jewellery manufacturers in the Southern Hemisphere. I was in charge of the stone setting department of that business. To give you an idea, I personally used to stone set 38,000 stones a year. That's probably one sapphire, one diamond every 1.5 minutes. All mass-produced cast pieces. From that, I did a few short courses in gold and pearls, and also I did my GIA diamond certificate. Mm-hmm. So that took a couple of weeks to do. We did that here in Adelaide. So I just did that just with my own personal business, just to have a bit more of a string to my bow. It's just something else I got to offer customers. But doing diamond grading full time is a hard way to make money, especially here in Australia. There's just not a lot of call for it, because to get your clients, all your listeners, their head around Australia is the same size as the US, but only with the population of New York.
Wow.
So it's not a lot of call for it. We don't have the population like the rest of the world, so to actually try and make a living out of diamond grading is kind of hard, especially here in Australia.
Right, very little volume. So, Lee, one thing that I've been recommending to everyone that kind of comes through our site that we do business with is, when it comes to stones and diamonds, we don't really have the expertise to pay people. I don't, because I don't have the certification like you do, and very few people that I meet and our customers do either. So is there a good strategy that you would recommend that would be something different? The basic thing I've been telling folks is to let customers know that they can't really pay the money for it, but they can leave it in, and they'll deduct a small percentage of the weight and just compensate them for the scrap metal. Is there any other way that you go about it that you find really works for you?
The plan I had was to take the stones out, sort them into diamond sizes through a diamond sieve, and then grade them into, say, batches of 100, and basically sell them on cellulose to students at the local high school or the local university that are studying.